Okay. Yeah, hi everybody. This is me. Hello, my name is Mark Tinderholt. I'm a principal architect at Microsoft. I work on Azure engineering. Not a sales guy. I'm not here to sell you nothing. Thanks to, praise be to COVID, I say. I was able to land a full-time remote work from home job at Microsoft, and I did not have to pay for Seattle housing. So it was wonderful. So I, work at Microsoft. I've been there for about 3 years. I am a HashiCorp ambassador. I'm really passionate about infrastructure as code, and Terraform is like my favorite jam. I have a little YouTube channel called the Azure Terraformer, where I have somewhat educational content occasionally. So that's me. I work on Azure and try and make it better every day. We're here to talk about BlueSky. So when I was a little boy, I had a dream. I wanted to become an architect. I wanted to build buildings. I forced my parents to go to Office Max and buy me like graph paper, and I would draw little buildings in 4th and 5th grade and stuff, and I just wanted to be an architect. I also had dreams and aspirations to become an author. I loved Roald Dahl books. I collected every single Roald Dahl book, even the ones that you don't hear about every day, which are a little bit kind of scary. They're a little mature. And Michael Crichton was my jam. I think I read Jurassic Park when I was in 4th grade. I was that nerd, okay? I was that nerd with a 400-page book as a 4th grader, with my glasses and stuff like that. Anyways, my point is, I colossally failed in both of these dreams. I did not become an architect and design amazing skyscrapers. I did not become a published author of the next great Michael Crichton-esque novel. But I did become an architect, just not the kind I thought I'd become. And I did become an author, just not the kind that I thought I wanted to become. So kind of a win, I'll take it, Now, since we're talking about boyish dreams, I've been a .NET developer, since 2001. And, I've always, who here's a .NET developer? We got a couple. Who's used a NuGet package before? Like ref add to project, you wait 30 seconds and it loads finally. Who's published a NuGet package internally? Oh, some hands went down. Who's published a NuGet package publicly? There we go. Yeah. So that was a lifelong dream. I was like, oh man, that would be so cool. I could write history and be etched in the forever Wayback Machine with my own NuGet package, And I never really, the opportunity never really came. I never was like, what, this would be a cool NuGet package, It was always like, you have those little shared libraries that you use at work, and it's like nobody will ever want to use this, So like you don't ever publish it. But there was this idea that I had recently where there's this platform that just came out just came out, relatively speaking, in the last 5 years or so, called BlueSky. And I looked for like a .NET library for it, and I couldn't find one. So I was like, you know what? I bet it's all a bunch of REST APIs. I could write a client library, and I could publish a NuGet package, and I could achieve at least one of my boyhood dreams and become an actual published NuGet package author. So that is the genesis of my NuGet package publishing journey. I got to worry about my hand gestures. I'm sorry. I'm going to keep that down there. Don't want to get in trouble on the internet.
Too soon.
I realize, I'm like, okay. I'm part Italian, so okay. Anyways, small hands. Smells like cabbage. Okay. So agenda. So we're going to do a brief overview of the BlueSky architecture because it is kind of an interesting platform. They're doing some neat things with it. But I'm going to spend most of my time on how to create a .NET open source project in 10 easy steps in 2025 because there will be some updates to this. So BlueSky. BlueSky is the face of kind of the, it's the very pretty face. It's got like a big blue butterfly. Who's on BlueSky? Yeah, kind of. Yeah, you're
I
not.
don't have much energy for anything anymore.
Yeah, I know. Social media, like I love LinkedIn, but like social media outside of LinkedIn can be a little bit, troublesome at times. But I'm on BlueSky. You can look me up, Mark Tinderholt. I'm also on X. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on YouTube, as we've established. But when I saw all these people going on to BlueSky, I'm like, okay, I'm going to sign up, and see what's going on over there. And then I learned about BlueSky. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. But essentially, it's supposed to be kind of like the antithesis of like these other social media platforms that we have a whole bunch of, right? That are relatively monolithic and they're relatively proprietary. So the whole idea behind BlueSky was like, hey, we're going to have a brand and we're going to have an interface for like the normies to like connect through, but we're going to make this like kind of distributed and kind of not demonized, but democratic, right? So that anybody can like set up, like connect to this thing and like have a good time. And so that's what is behind the BlueSky butterfly is this thing called the AT protocol. I forget, what does AT stand for, anybody? I even forget. Something. All-terrain vehicle, yeah. We're going to go with that. What?
Advanced technology.
You're an OG Microsoft guy, I can tell. NT, baby. Yeah, I can't remember what it stands for. But basically, these are the big components, right? It's got PDS, which I think that's personal data store. So that's where the content can get stored. And then you have this other component called an aggregator, which like aggregates the feed from all the content that gets like stored on these PDS repositories. And then you have like a common interface for identity called the DID, distributed identity. I think that's what it's called. So these three things. Oh, we got a lookup on
authenticated transfer protocol.
Authenticated transfer protocol. Very, very, very exciting. Yeah. So authenticated transfer protocol. There we go. So we have these three things, and their powers combined formulate the platform that is known as, yeah, exactly, the BlueSky or the AT protocol like platform. And BlueSky is really just like one implementation of all these three things, right? They have a DID provider, they have a PDS, they have an aggregator. And when you go to the BlueSky app and you sign up, you, unbeknownst to yourself, you are actually storing all your data on their PDS, and your feed is being populated by their aggregator, and you're logging in with their DID, right? But you could go stand up your own, if you're an enterprising, bootstrapping young person, you can go, stand up your own PDS, your own aggregator, your own DID, and roll your own and connect with everybody else on BlueSky, right? But then you have full control of your data. Kind of cool, right? Kind of neat. Yeah. So I was like, okay, yeah, that's a cool idea. Let me play around with this. And that's where I was like, I can play around with this cool new platform, and I can achieve my boyish dream of becoming a world famous NuGet publisher, public NuGet publisher. So 10 easy steps. How do we get there? Step one, you got to set up a Git repo, right? So I set it up on GitHub. That was pretty easy, I've been to GitHub before. Who's been to GitHub? Okay, yeah, there we go. We got something in common. We're building rapport, okay? And I set up my GitHub projects, a pretty standard way. I usually create a source directory. There's a docs directory. And then I like to use GitHub Actions a lot, so I have to use these wacky, like, .github, which feels very foreign to me as an OG Windows user, right? It's like a hidden directory with a workflows where I stuff all my YAML in there and stuff like that. More on that later. But basically, unlike my typical applications where I got to go deploy to Azure and I have to use infrastructure as code with Terraform, it's a wonderful thing. You can go check out my YouTube, okay? I'm not doing enough of that because I'm publishing binaries, like .NET binaries, potentially, we'll get to there eventually, to this magical place called NuGet.org, right? So, I have to approach this a little bit differently. So how I normally set up my GitHub project is not normally how I do it. The next step that any open source developer has to choose is the ever important license. Okay, for many years I've used GitHub and I've never even realized that they had this interface to select the license, and they make it ridiculously easy to commit to main with a license file because people like me forget to do it.
And they
So
can tell you what's in your license.
what's that?
They give you license descriptors of like what's in this license versus the other one.
Yeah, they do. It's really cool. So I just kind of, I'm an MPC, right? So I just picked MPL and just rolled with that. I don't really want to think too hard about it. That sounded safe, so I just did that. MPL2, we're good. So then I get to code, and I'll show you some of my code later. But BlueSky, BlueSky is basically like the AT protocol. It's an implementation of the AT protocol, but they have a REST interface, and I couldn't find an Open API specification. Who's heard of Open API? Okay. So Swagger, we just call it Swagger, back when we named things cool. But I couldn't find an Open API or a Swagger file for this thing. So basically, I just rolled my own HTTP client calls to it, right? I couldn't just Swagger code gen a mountain of C# code. So I've had a very slow approach to this whole BlueSky thing. I've added features that I want, for my purposes. And actually, one of the fun parts of this journey is people have not exactly been coming out of the woodwork, but there have been people that I've never met before that have submitted PRs to this project, and they actually did a good job. They added some great features, which was kind of fun. That doesn't normally happen. When you're doing internal development at your company, right? Some random person submits a PR to you with all sorts of features that you were gonna do that was on your backlog, and you're like, oh, gee, thanks. Yeah, what do I do? What do I have to do? I guess I'm gonna go play another game of ping pong. So after you're done coding, the next thing, this is 2025. I told you I'm gonna modernize this for modern audiences, okay? So who likes to write README files? Oh, the hands are just coming up like crazy. Well, unfortunately for you, you don't have to do that anymore, right? You can just go to ChatGPT and copy pasta your code and be like, write me a README to teach a dumb user how to use my SDK. And it spits out pure gold, okay? There are some hallucinations, but they're minor. You just have to RTFM. Yes, you still have to read your own manual, but it's not that hard. So yeah, ChatGPT to generate a README file. Check. We're well on our journey, right? We got code, we got a Git repo, we got a license, we got code, and we got an AI generated README file.
Never thought about doing that. It sounds like actually okay idea. At least to get a structure to put up for. If you absolutely want a README file, it sounds like a good idea.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. It was great. Thank you.
And if AI can generate a README file, AI can also generate a snarky README file.
That's true. You should submit a PR. You should take my README, throw it into ChatGPT, and be like, make this a snarky README file
I don't have to
that pisses Mark off.
just to troll you. Yeah.
My coworkers made it sound like one of the Harry Potter people was speaking.
Make this README file written by Severus Snape.
Yeah, it was just something along that line.
I love this. The power of open source, everyone. I'm expecting PRs from each and every one of you after this talk, okay? All right, so step 4, generate the README file. Wonderful. Now, okay, I don't have to go deploy anything, right? But I do have to test my code. It kind of sucks, right? Yeah, who likes to test their code? Wow. Oh, a couple hands. Okay, yeah. Yeah, maybe I'm not phrasing my questions properly. Who is forced to test their code and is paid handsomely to do it, so they hence like the paycheck, hence they like to test their
Well, if
code.
you're going to put it that way.
Okay. So I wrote some unit tests, and I actually wrote some integration tests. Now, a technique that I like to use, I like to write integration tests using XUnit. Maybe I'm weird. Who writes integration tests in XUnit? Okay, I'm not the only one.
I've seen some of our code do it. I haven't written any of them.
Yeah. So I think of like, who uses mock? I don't even know how to pronounce it. Am I pronouncing it
You're
correctly?
right, but mock-Q is fun.
Mock-Q. Okay.
Mock is correct.
Mock. Okay. Who uses MOQ or mock? Okay. To write unit tests, right? That thing is so cool because with your unit test, you can just jam in a mock that just it does whatever you want it to do. Like you override the functions. It's like absolutely bonkers, right? Because I used to have to write unit tests and I didn't have that framework, but like now it's just like, wow, the thing's insane. But basically, an integration test is you just rip out all those mocks, right? Like your unit tests are still, they're just gonna like deep path on all your code, right? And so in my case, like I have a really interesting problem because my code actually, in order to test it, like from an integration testing standpoint, I actually have to go talk to BlueSky and do stuff, right? So we'll see how I cover that later. But anyways, I wrote a GitHub action to run my tests such that anytime a friendly internet stranger would submit a pull request, then like all my test library would get executed on their pull request, and I could be like, I could judge their code. Like I could sit back, put on my little curly mustache, and be like, I don't know if it meets my standards, but I pretty much just auto approve anyway. So very safe library, the most safe library to use for BlueSky. But you can see in here, I'm referencing a couple. Can you see that?
It's not really
It's really small. I'll drop in. Let me pull up my code here. Oh my God! Don't judge me on how many VS Code windows I have open.
Oh my gosh! It's all of the
Minecraft, OpenAI demo, BlueSky.net. Okay, there we go. Yeah, I'm rewriting Minecraft in my spare time.
That's awesome.
So here it is. So can I make this? Is this visible? Oh my God! Wrong button. Plus.
We can see that.
You can see that.
Yeah, we can see that.
Oh, okay. So this is where I run my tests, and I'm hitting my test project with CSproj. But notice I'm passing on some environment variables. Okay. So when I run my tests, I'm actually piping in some BlueSky credentials for a fake account, totally fake account. And I run my suite of tests against that BlueSky account to make sure it all works, right? And so the functionality, like all my tests, I have like crazy number of tests. Not crazy. I've seen more. I've seen bigger. But you know, we got get did. You know, just very. This is like pilot light, baby. It's like you get your little, you know, lighter, and you're like, oh, there it is. That's very basic. Start session. That's like, okay, I got my did, okay, and I got my can of hairspray, and I'm about to spray it, right? But I just squeak out just a little bit, you know. So that's start session. That like gets the juices flowing with BlueSky. It takes your did, and it's like, all right, like I'm ready to jam with you right now. And then we got post something. So this is like really just takes some text and it goes beep beep boop. That's all it does. You know, we're all bots anyway. Yeah, there we go. Beep beep boop. Yeah, literally beep beep boop. You're gonna love it when we get to unfollow and follow. Guess. I want everybody to guess inside your head, inside voices. Okay. What user I follow and unfollow in my unit test? Okay, inside your head. Think about it. Huh? Well, I had to change it because they're no longer on the platform. But yeah. Then this was just added by a friendly internet stranger named Johan, where he actually took my posting and he added images, which was actually a pretty complex thing because he has to base 64 encode a bunch of basically a byte array, and then create a blob record out in BlueSky, and then reference that blob record with the post, right? So all that stuff that goes to the PDS, you know, when you do any post, you're just creating a post record out in the PDS database. When you want to post a post with an image, you got to create a post record and an image reference and an image record, but you got to do it in order: image and then post that references the image, right? So kind of makes sense. Yeah, but they all require a session. So he Johan, you know, I feel like we're in like a jamming session. Johan like saw what I did with beep beep boop, and he's like, no, man, we're doing image boop, you know? I'm like, yeah, Johan, like I found my people, you know? So now I did refactor Johan's code because Johan, he basically took a white image, you know, just an image of a bunch of white pixels, right? And I was like, no, this is BlueSky.net, okay? This is my boyhood dream realized in the public internet. We have to make this jazzy, right? Jazz hands, okay? So I changed those images, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to load from a file rather than a hard-coded base64 array. This. So I made that. I made that. So I made this. I didn't make this picture, okay? You know, somebody made the picture, but like I put the impact font text on top. But I thought it was very fitting, you know. Anakin's like, who's seen this meme before? Okay, yeah. So Anakin's like, I'm gonna test in production, and Padme, you know, is like, not with your official BlueSky account, right? And Anakin's just like, I'm gonna stare, and she's like, right? And so that's what I'm doing. Like, I'm literally testing in production with my official BlueSky account, which I thought was very ironical. But Johan also implemented another API test because you can post not just with one image, but with up to 4 images. 4 images. So, man, you know, and Johan was posting 4 blank white images. I'm like, no, Johan, no, not okay, not acceptable. This is Mark Tinderholt's boyhood dream to become a world famous NuGet published author. We have to make this jazzy. So I started with Anakin, and I'm like, I just got to keep rolling. So I did this one. Who's seen this meme before? Yeah. Do I need to explain this one? Does everybody get that? Okay. So we got two memes I'm posting on one post. Then I did this one. Who's seen this one? Do I have to explain it? Okay. Testing with your real BlueSky account, which is what I'm doing. See the irony?
It's less funny than we're
Boom! And the mother of all like memes. Here we go. Testing locally, no. Testing and staging, no. Testing in production, no. Testing in production using your official BlueSky account. Let's go. Let's go, everyone. So yeah, so that's it. So Mr. Johan did a great thing, but he, you know, we had to jazz it up a little bit. So who wants to take a guess who the BlueSky user is that I follow and unfollow?
Maybe Mark Zuckerberg?
Mark Zuckerberg? Okay, good guess.
Maybe it rhymes with Elon Musk.
What's that?
Maybe it rhymes with Elon Musk.
I don't even think he's on BlueSky. That would be like a socially limiting move for him, right? Like he's kind of like all in on X, right? Okay. Anybody other guesses? Okay. Oh man, I really wish I had the reference from. Anyways, the answer is Kevin Bacon.
Yeah. That's great.
And I was searching deep down in my Marvel knowledge for the reference from Guardians of the Galaxy, where he's like, "Are you aware of Kevin Bacon?" You guys know that scene in the movie? I don't know. This is awesome. Footloose. He makes a reference to Footloose. Fucking hilarious. Anyways, I'm sorry. So yeah, so I originally was following and unfollowing Kevin Bacon, but apparently I spammed him so hard because my NuGet package runs its tests so often. He just decided, you know what? I'm not going to be on BlueSky anymore. This BlueSky.net account just keeps following and unfollowing me, and like it's hurting me inside. Like I can't take the rejection. This person can't decide if they want to follow me or not. So exactly. So I'm sorry, world, internet. Kevin Bacon is not on BlueSky anymore because of me. What's that?
Eat out a bacon vector one.
Yeah, true.
Alternative name for the presentation: how to get famous people off of social media.
Dude, why didn't ChatGPT come up with that, man? It's
It
terrible.
really sounds like it. You can do this to anybody. We'll get on.
So I had to change it to BlueSky. Actually, BlueSky.net's me, but I think I changed it to just like the BlueSky official account because they're probably not gonna rage quit BlueSky. I'm guessing.
Well, we'll see.
Good point. Touche in the front row. So that's it. So that I just took you down. Yeah, it's not the best code, okay? Because frankly, I'm not getting paid to do this. It's just kind of fun. And really, my boyish dream was not to write the best BlueSky.net framework. It was to make myself a world famous NuGet, package publisher, right? So that's where this is going. So I ran my tests. That was fun. Testing in production. It's always good. And so I had to add secrets to GitHub. I set up the BlueSky handle, the BlueSky password, and then I did have to add a NuGet API key. Here we go. It's about to get real. And these secrets are injected through that YAML to allow my unit tests and integration tests to actually talk to BlueSky, and then eventually publish the NuGet. We got Drake over here. I really like the whole testing and production thing. It's a lot of fun because I follow the BlueSky.net account. You all should too, because you will get these memes like pestered to you like all the time. And I run the integration tests, and the thing is, like, you start small. With an open source project like this, I started with a single feature, right? Just post some text, beep beep boop, right? That's it, and then iterate from there. Then Johan added post in the image. I think, who's heard of .NET Rocks? Okay, you heard of a guy named Carl Franken? He was my second PR. Carl Franklin submitted a pull request to my open source. Thank you. And he was like, you know what? BlueSky.net, we need to be able to get followers. So he added the get followers, thing. And then I was like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. I'm gonna follow and unfollow Kevin Bacon. That was my contribution. So it's fun. You somebody else adds a feature, you add a feature. Don't just go try and do it all yourself. I guess you could do that if you're, a tryhard. But it's kind of fun to let the community all work together to add cool features like this, and then build on each other's stuff. So I did have to do some housekeeping. I had to sign up for NuGet, and it turns out I had a NuGet account with my email from 12 years ago that had somehow been deleted by the NuGet system. I don't know. Maybe I sent a strongly worded email or something, but it was not letting me log in. So I had to sign up a new email, sign up for a new account, all that stuff, clear all the stuff out. And I finally got connected on NuGet. I set up an organization in NuGet. I had no idea. It was so sophisticated. It's almost like an app store, right? So I have an organization, and then I have the I don't know if I forget they're projects or packages, yeah. And then I published my NuGet, and I looked at all the stuff out there, and most of it was PowerShell, and I hate PowerShell. I absolutely hate PowerShell. So I'm like, no freaking way. No, bad advice. Okay. Don't listen to the guy with the cowboy hat. Don't listen to the guy with the ugly cowboy hat. Just kidding. I love cowboy hats. So where was I? PowerShell. Yeah, the terribleness that I love your hat, Brad. I love your hat. I'm just kidding. Don't do PowerShell. So I didn't want to taint my GitHub action with PowerShell, so I had to go figure out how to do it with just CLI commands. And so that was a bit of a chore. I'll show you my GitHub action here in a second. But basically, I wrote some bash that randomly generated not randomly. I think I used the GitHub runner number, and then I generated the date. So definitely not randomly generated. As you can see here, like I got the date, and it's a semantic version, but I'm using year, year, month, and then the GitHub run number, which makes it essentially unique. And look at my download count. Yeah, like I am winning at life, folks. 102 downloads for the first release, which 98 were probably me. So anyways, here's my lovely GitHub action to publish to NuGet, all in beautiful, perfect Bash. No PowerShell is tainting my code base here. And let me drop over into code, and we'll look at it because it's probably easier. Hello. It's probably easy. So here's my NuGet YAML. Oh no. What happened? Oh, there's like two screens. Wow, that's really wacky. I don't even know where my oh, there's like something up here. Opinion. No. I don't even have a doc. You know. That's why it's kind of, what's that? Is that OBS? My God, I need my glasses.
Yeah,
Shut up. Getting old. Did I mention when I started writing .NET? It's very sad. I'm a late bloomer. What can I say? Mirror on the wall. Where?
It might not be a display prompt. Mac lets you have multiple text stops.
I was thinking that Mark's organization is probably getting so big that it can start
Mirror.
an operating system.
Yes. What's that? What's that?
I was thinking your organization might be able to build their own operating system.
Oh yeah. You can see I'm running a virtual machine running their operating system. It's a lovely operating system, my favorite. Just don't run PowerShell. So anyways, here it is. This is my little publish NuGet YAML. I check out the code, I set up .NET, I restore dependencies, I build the project, I do a NuGet package. There's my little lovely NuGet API key. And then here's my little bash script that generates the semantic versioning number. And then I just do a .NET NuGet push, right? Now, the way I set this up in GitHub Actions, I'm using a workflow dispatch, okay? That is fancy talk. I don't know why they called it that, but it's basically like they poke, you press the button, so it's manual. Whereas on my unit tests, I run it on pull request and push to the main branch, okay? So demo, different project. That's my JFK files project.
I saw it. That was awesome.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Thanks. It was pretty fun. $678 later. Where am I? Repos, BlueSky. Okay. So over in my actions, right? So here's all where these, I guess they're not really unit tests, they're integration tests, right? But this is me, like yesterday. Was it yesterday? No, couldn't have been. But I did a merge on the pull request that I made to add the memes. So I took Johan's code, I refactored a little bit, and I added my magical Anakin meme. And it ran that stuff, right? So now that stuff runs automatically. Now the publish NuGet, I can just go hit that little run workflow and then smash that button, and we're going to publish a new version. It's going to be the same code, but it will generate a new version out in NuGet, which is really fun. So yeah, so that's going, and that is the 10th and final step of becoming a NuGet package master. And the most important thing is always test in production, folks. Yeah. Good advice. Thank you. That's my talk. Thanks. You can find me on BlueSky, X, LinkedIn. I'm on YouTube under Azure Terraformer. I don't know where that QR code goes, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be safe for work. So
I can't imagine you putting a not safe for work QR code on your thank you slide.
I can't imagine it either, but it would be funny.
Star Trek.
And I did write a book called Mastering Terraform. It is a multi-cloud Rosetta Stone. Okay, so I cover AWS, Azure, GCP, cloud architecture on 3 cloud computing paradigms, virtual machines, Docker and Kubernetes, and serverless on 3 clouds, AWS, Azure, and GCP. I terraform everything. Terraform's in the title, but Terraform's really just the language of my cloud architecture. See what I did there? So, yeah. I think any developer and any architect should know Terraform because it is the language of the configuration of our environments. So I highly recommend checking out Terraform. Check out my book if you're interested, or check out my YouTube where I talk a lot about Terraform and Azure. So that's it for me. Thank you for your attention. Do we do questions?
Do we do questions? Does anyone have a question?
Yeah, does anybody have a question? Is anybody awake?
Yes to both.
Okay,
So,
good.
Mark,
Yes, sir.
if you were to avoid testing production,
Why would one want to do that? Testing in production is so much fun. That's literally the thesis of my talk.
Have you checked Microsoft's stock prices since the beginning of this talk?
Oh, well, we closed at 5:30. Okay. Hypothetically, why would someone not want to test in production?
Yes.
Continue.
what would be the best practice when we are building? I'm going to make this generic. When we are building a API wrapper like this one for an external service,
Yeah.
what are the alternatives to testing in production?
Well, that's the thing. It's like you really like if you're building a library and it is highly dependent on a REST API, you kind of have to, hit that REST API. Now, a lot of very sophisticated like B2B type situations, you just ask them, hey, do you have like a non-prod environment that I can hit? And they'll be like, yeah, please do that. But BlueSky is kind of a consumer platform, right? So they're not really, interested in hosting like a private non-prod environment or anything like that.
Spin up a whole Docker instance of all the backend infrastructure.
I could invest time in like figuring out how to host my own PDS and aggregator, and did. Yeah, I could do that. Sounds like a lot of work. And I would not have as much fun posting memes to a fake account. So, there's trade-offs, but I like where your head's at.
Not testing is always an option.
Yeah, you could not test. YOLO, baby.
You probably asked.
If you don't want to do integration testing, you can always kind of cache the response you might see back.
That's a good idea. Yeah, you could like grab. Oftentimes, like if you want to do local runs of tests, you get sample payloads of requests and responses, and then you just verify. Like you send in what the anticipated request is, and you verify you get that response back.
And then adding on top of that, for local development, before it gets to Git, you use the cache version, and then when you do get to Git, the current configuration I see is every pull request to make, and then also on every pull request update.
Yeah.
I guess a very simple optimization would just be make it also manually triggered by the repo owner at the pull request review, so when it actually gets to me, you run it once.
So I feel like with testing, especially like, so I've written pretty large integration test suites, and you probably probably wouldn't want them to run like on the PR, right? Because like one that I did for a logistics company, we had like 4,000 tests. I mean, it was insane. It would take hours, right? So you have to kind of balance developer productivity a bit. Like these tests take seconds, so it's very easy and quick. But yeah, if you're doing like a very robust set of integration tests that are going to take a long time, you don't want to slow down your developers. So you would probably, maybe create like maybe a smaller batch of them, like just the critical ones that you want to run every time that are fast. Invest more in unit tests, stuff that have canned request response, right? So that stuff can happen all in memory and doesn't have that dependency externally. And integrate, then you run your big batch of integration tests, like maybe nightly, something like that, where it's like you don't have humans waiting for that crap to run, right? And then there's a longer length, of time to find out when bad stuff happens, right? But like you don't slow down developers, so it's trade-offs, right?
Thank you so much for the insight.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
What was the most challenging or unexpected thing you ran into during this whole process?
Figuring out the did. I was very confused by the whole did thing. But once I, getting through the authentication, like working with any external system, the hard part is like figuring out how the authentication works. Mm-hmm. So this was just very different from like traditional OAuth. It was actually simpler in many ways, but it was just kind of foreign to me. So like having to learn how the did work and the mechanics of the did and the session start, and then I can go, right? Because I'm used to like, hey, access token, give me one, and then, jam that thing into, some environment variable, and then I'm off to the races, But, using the did was a little weird. But what I think I'm still early in my understanding of the AT protocol, but it almost seems like, who's familiar with OAuth, like in the different grant types? So like ROPC, you guys familiar with that one? What is that? Remote operator, like private credentials. Like basically you pass in a username and a password. So like the way I'm interfacing with like the AT protocol here is I'm using essentially ROPC. I have my username and I have my password, right? It's not like, OAuth where you might go through a different grant type where you do an interactive login or something like that, and then you get a refresh token, you keep it alive. This I actually have the credentials. That's why I had to put that into my, my GitHub secrets. And that's why I set up a separate account, not my personal account, called BlueSky.net. So if that gets hacked or whatever, like, then it's like not tied to me personally. So, yeah. But it does make for some funny memes.
Fun fact, BlueSky.net, the domain is taken.
Yeah, I have no budget, so
okay.
No, I don't own BlueSky.net. Yeah. So
last one. What features do you still have to work on, or that you really maybe someone could help you work on?
Oh yeah, I mean there's some open issues out there. For me, I'm pretty good. Like the let me see what issues there are. Oh yeah, like retrieving like CRUD on posts. So I don't have that. Like I can post, right? I can post in many different ways thanks to Johan. But like I can't go get, like maybe a paged history of posts for a given user or for yourself. Like that would be cool. So I mean that would make this useful more for like social media spelunkers that want to like capture sentiment or stuff like that. Create a post with an image attachment, that's done. There's some technical debt around record operations. There's a whole smorgasbord of different record operations that I do not have committed to memory, but like I wrote this issue because of that, because like when we were doing the follow and unfollow, this is an interesting like part of the architecture of AT protocol. When you follow somebody, you're actually creating a record out in the PDS that, like, it's a database record that, so there's a record type for, user follow, right? So that's, and then creating a post is another record type. So record is like this heterogeneous data structure that can have different schema, elements within it. So I think spelunking all the different record types and seeing which ones might be good roadmap items would be like, that's next, I guess. Yeah. So I am accepting pull requests.
Especially for the README file, which I will do later.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you guys so much for having
Do
me.
you have a question?
Not a big one, but
Well, little one's okay.
GitHub Actions, are there, in terms of costs?
Yeah.
So that they're, is it a free tier that you're using, or?
Definitely. I think like with public repos, there's like very generous free tier if it's a public repo.
It's like 20 minutes of build time a month or something like that, which is pretty decent for most starter projects that you're not going to be doing too frequently on.
20 minutes, is that all?
It's probably more than
I
that.
feel like it's a lot more. Yeah.
2,000 minutes per month, you don't pay for it. 2,000.
Okay, so yeah.
Yeah.
A factor of 100.
Yeah. There's like, I'm like 20. Wow.
So that gives you about 2,000, about 45 minutes.
It's longer than Season of Fire.
Sad. Yeah. I am not hitting the thresholds. But yeah. GitHub Actions, they're a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Cool.
Mark, thank you. This
Yep.
is awesome. The idea of this talk hadn't occurred to Mark, a week and a half ago, something like that?
2 days ago.
You committed to this like double.
Did I? When did I commit to this?
It was like a week and a half ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It was awesome.
Yeah.
That was very good.